do we actually make our own choices? I mean, really? Or is it all somehow laid out for us? It's a huge question, isn't it, when humans have been wrestling with forever?
Yeah, for millennia. And it shapes so much. But today, we're taking a slightly different angle. Welcome to the deep dive.
That's right. We're diving into free will, but specifically through a psychological lens.
Exactly. We're looking at Dr. Kenning Sheldon's work, especially his book, Freely Determined. It's all about the self, motivation, and, well, how you can actually live a life that feels chosen and contributes to well-being.
Our sources today are pretty rich. We've got bits from Dr. Sheldon's interview on The Dissenter, his book, obviously, and even some interesting reader comments adding different takes.
And our mission, as always, is to pull out the key stuff, the surprising facts, basically give you a shortcut to getting your head around this really fascinating topic. So let's get into it.
Okay, so this psychological lens. Dr. Sheldon, coming from personality psychology, he kind of noticed his field wasn't really in the free will conversation much.
Right, which is usually dominated by, philosophy or neuroscience.
Yeah, but psychology adds something really vital, doesn't it?
It really does. And one key thing Dr. Sheldon highlights is this distinction, it's crucial, between making the decision, like the choice to try for a goal,
Okay.
and then the consequences of that decision. Mm-hmm. And those consequences, he says, they're essential for learning.
Ah, so they teach you if you really wanted that thing, or maybe if you were aiming too high.
Precisely. It's feedback. And it happens throughout the whole goal-setting process, not just at the end.
That makes sense, like deciding to run a marathon is the choice, but actually doing it or getting injured, that's the consequence, the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what about pure determinism? The idea that everything's fixed. What are the problems with that, psychologically speaking?
Well, psychologically, it's just really disempowering, isn't it? It tells you, you don't actually have any power, no ability to choose your path. And as a researcher, Dr. Sheldon points out, most psych studies, they rarely explain more than, say, 10% of why people do what they do. Complete prediction. Highly unlikely.
And it sort of dismisses the whole idea of a creative self, right? Our ability to just make stuff up as we go along, make those snap decisions that change everything.
Totally. It ignores that feeling of being a self, navigating the world. But interestingly, there can be perceived upsides to believing in determinism for some people.
Oh, like what?
Well, maybe feeling intellectually superior, like you've seen through the illusion, or maybe avoiding responsibility for bad choices.
Ah, okay. Wasn't my fault, it was determined.
Kind of.
Right.
Or even finding comfort in the idea of some underlying scientific order, even without God, a sense that science will figure it all out eventually.
Right, but then Sheldon makes this really bold claim that free will is actually an evolved capacity.
Yeah, that's pretty controversial. He argues our big brains, our executive functions, overriding impulses, they evolved specifically because they help us act like free agents. It's adaptive.
Wow. So how does that fit with the philosophers? Because most of them believe free will and determinism can coexist, right? Compatibilism.
Exactly. About 80% lean towards compatibilism. It's tricky intellectual ground, but Sheldon's book offers this fresh psychological take on how that might actually work.
It's like our brains are built to feel free, and that feeling matters. Because imagine if determinism was proven true and everyone believed it. What would happen then?
Yeah, the psychological fallout would be significant. It directly clashes with that fundamental human need for autonomy, from self-determination theory.
Right.
It would likely lead to more distress, depression, less optimism, people feeling like, well, robots.
So we have to be careful about telling people they don't have choices.
Definitely. Which leads to another interesting idea. Downward causation.
Okay, what's that?
It's the idea that our higher level processes, like our thoughts and decisions, can actually reach down and influence lower level stuff, like what's happening in our brains. It's not actually a minority view among neuroscientists, surprisingly. Huh. And to explain how we arrive at those high level decisions, Sheldon uses this goal breakthrough model. It draws from theories about creativity.
Sounds intriguing.
Think of it in stages. First, preparation. You're consciously thinking about a problem or goal. Then incubation. Your non-conscious mind kind of chews on it in the background.
Okay, the shower thoughts phase.
Exactly. And then illumination. Bang. An answer or a solution just pops into your head. The aha moment.
Right.
He gives this great example of an unhappy lawyer, months of unconscious incubation, then suddenly remembers an old friend, environmental interests. Boom. Whole new career path emerges.
Wow. And that applies to small things, too.
Yeah.
Like deciding to sweep the floor.
Yeah, he suggests it works for big life goals and those tiny micro behaviors. It's all part of this process.
And this all ties back to self-determination theory, SDT you mentioned.
Absolutely. SDT is kind of the bedrock here, developed over like 50 years by Deci and Ryan. It's arguably the biggest, most supported theory of human motivation out there.
And the core idea is
That humans have this fundamental need to feel like they're the ones choosing and causing their own behavior, that need for autonomy.
and autonomy here doesn't just mean being independent, like, I don't care what anyone thinks.
No, exactly. It's about having an internal perceived locus of causality. Basically, you agree with what you're doing, you endorse it, even if it aligns with what others want or expect. You own it.
Got it. So what are the basic assumptions of SDT?
Two main ones. First, humans are naturally curious, always exploring, learning through self-direction. Intrinsic motivation is the prime example of this drive.
Okay.
Second, this growth tendency really depends on having supportive social environments. If you don't get that support, you suffer, you might regress, act out. Think of a plant analogy, wrong conditions, it withers. Same for people.
Makes sense. So let's get into the mini theories within SDT. First one, cognitive evaluation theory, CET.
Right. CET zooms in on intrinsic motivation doing something just because it's fun, interesting, challenging in itself. You know, the pure enjoyment of it. Science actually took a while to accept this, funny enough, maybe because of that determinist bias.
And the surprising thing CET found was
How fragile intrinsic motivation can be. Deci's classic experiment with the Soma puzzles showed this perfectly.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so people were solving these puzzles. One group got paid, the other didn't. Later, during a free choice period, the ones who got paid actually spent less time playing with the puzzles voluntarily.
Wow. So the money kind of killed the fun.
Exactly. If the reward feels controlling, it can undermine that natural enjoyment, like a punishment by rewards, as they put it.
And we see this play out elsewhere, right? Like with athletes.
Definitely. That study on college athletes, the ones on scholarships, that external reward, they actually showed less intrinsic motivation for their sport years later compared to the walk-ons who played just for the love of it.
That's fascinating. And what about pro athletes, the contract year effect?
Yeah, similar dynamic. Players often perform better in the year they're negotiating a big contract.
Makes sense. They're motivated by the money.
Right. But then, the year after they sign that huge deal, their performance often drops, sometimes even below where they started.
Whoa.
It suggests that intense focus on money might permanently dampen their internal drive. Maybe they even train less hard because the reward is secured.
Okay, so if rewards can kill intrinsic motivation, how do we get ourselves to do stuff that's necessary but, frankly, not fun?
That's where the second mini-theory comes in. Organismic integration theory, or OIT. It's all about how we internalize behaviors we don't naturally enjoy.
Internalize, meaning?
Meaning we come to genuinely see their value, their importance, their meaning, even if they aren't fun. When that happens, doing them starts to feel like our own choice.
Okay, so there are different ways of doing things you don't enjoy.
Precisely. OIT distinguishes between identified motivation and interjected motivation.
What's the difference?
Identified is when you do something because you genuinely believe it's important, it aligns with your values, even if it's not fun. Like maybe you recycle diligently because you truly value environmental protection. That's mature commitment, using your free will capacity.
Okay, that feels authentic. What's interjected then?
Interjected motivation is more about pressure, often guilt. Doing something to avoid feeling bad about yourself or because you feel you should, it's only partially internalized, feels more like some inner voice nagging you, not a true choice.
Ah, the shoulds. I know those well.
Right. And you can see this develop. Little kids might do chores to avoid punishment. Teenagers are more likely to say they do them to feel organized or contribute. That's internalization happening.
And it continues into adulthood.
Yeah, research shows older adults tend to have more identified motivation for things like voting or paying taxes. They see the value more. It's less about external pressure.
And that PCT hiker study you mentioned earlier really showed this distinction.
Oh, absolutely. Such a great example. Grueling hike, right? 2,650 miles. Their intrinsic motivation just tanked. It was a slog.
Understandably.
Their overall happiness actually increased during the hike. And so did their identified motivation, seeing the value in the challenge, the journey.
Okay, interesting.
Now, both identified and interjected motivation helped them hike further and finish. But here's the kicker. Finishing the trail only boosted their long-term well-being if it was driven by identified motivation.
Not the guilt-driven stuff.
Exactly. If they finished out of guilt or pressure, it didn't give them that lasting satisfaction boost. Full internalization is key.
Wow. So it really matters why you're doing something tough.
It really does. And this highlights how important autonomy support is. Teachers, parents, bosses who listen, explain the why, respect perspective. They help people internalize things authentically. You can't force someone to truly value something. Like Richard Bach said, if you love someone, set them free.
Set them free to find their own why.
Okay.
Okay? What's the third mini theory? COT.
Causality orientations theory. This looks at broader personality styles related to free will. People tend to have degrees of 3 orientations.
Right. What are they?
First, the autonomy orientation. These folks actively look for choice, meaning enjoyment. They take responsibility. They tend to learn and grow from experiences. They generally thrive.
Sounds like the ideal.
Then the control orientation. These people are more focused on external rewards, approval, what the situation demands. They might succeed on paper, but they can be more likely to, bend rules or compromise their values to get ahead,
Right.
driven by have-tos.
Okay. And third.
The impersonal orientation. This is where people feel helpless, ineffective, like they have no real agency. They feel pushed around by forces beyond their control. And this orientation is strongly linked to depression, anxiety, poor outcomes.
And this links back to believing in determinism.
It really highlights the danger. Autonomy-oriented people flourish. Control-oriented folks don't do as well psychologically. And the impersonally oriented, who essentially live as if determinism is true for them, they feel helpless. Believing really can make it so.
But even in the worst situations, that capacity for choice remains. Like Viktor Frankl.
Absolutely. Frankl's point was profound. Even in concentration camps, he argued, you could choose your response, your attitude, maintain your integrity. We always have that sliver of freedom, that choice to resist or adapt or find meaning.
Okay, so choice is constant. But can there be too much choice, too
Not
much
at all.
freedom? You mentioned this problem of too much freedom.
Yeah, it's a paradox.
Yeah.
Our symbolic selves, our conscious meaning-making minds living in the psychological world, too, we are executives. We have this freedom. But that freedom includes the freedom to mess up, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can be pretty clueless about our deeper nature, our real potential. We operate from what Sheldon calls flawed self-theories.
Okay, how does that happen? How are we clueless?
Well, think about Kahneman System 1 and System 2.
Fast thinking and slow thinking.
Right. System 1 is fast, intuitive, emotional, non-conscious. System 2 is slow, logical, verbal, conscious. Our symbolic self mostly lives in System 2.
The narrator in our head.
Exactly. And that narrator can be kind of cut off from the deeper feelings and preferences bubbling up from System 1.
Which leads to that disconnect you mentioned. Implicit versus explicit motives.
Precisely. Implicit motives are those automatic, non-conscious drives from System 1 for achievement, connection, whatever, measured by things like those ambiguous picture tests.
Okay.
Explicit motives are what we say we want from System 2, influenced by what we think we should want, or just not knowing ourselves well. And the kicker is, these two are often completely uncorrelated.
So we can say we want one thing, but deep down, something else is driving us.
Yeah, we can be genuinely clueless, leading us to chase goals that don't actually fit us, non-concordant goals, Sheldon calls them.
Which probably won't make us happy even if we achieve them.
Exactly. Which is why self-concordant goals are so important. Goals that match those deeper interests, pursued for autonomous reasons. They just feel right.
And those are the ones that give us energy, make us persist, lead to real happiness boosts, like the PCT hikers who found meaning.
You got it. That's the sweet spot.
So how do we find those goals? How do we get System 1 and System 2 talking to each other better?
Sheldon offers some practical strategies. One is mindfulness meditation.
How does that help?
It trains your System 2, your conscious mind, to pay better attention to the subtle signals from System 1, those fleeting thoughts, feelings, body sensations, before you jump to interpret or judge them. It bridges the gap.
Okay, listening inward more carefully. What else?
Ask close others. Seriously, friends, family, partners, they often see things in us we're blind to.
Like Tony's friend suggesting music instead of basketball.
Perfect example. Others can reflect back parts of ourselves we don't fully recognize. Their perspective can be invaluable.
Good point. Any other strategies?
Yes, a really interesting one. Think why before you commit. This relates to Gollwitzer's Rubicon model.
The point of no return.
Kinda. Before you decide on a goal, cross the Rubicon, you're in a deliberative mindset, weighing pros and cons. Afterwards, you shift to an implemental mindset focused on how to do it, and you tend to defend your choice.
Right, you shut down the questioning.
Exactly. So Sheldon ran this study where people rated why they might pursue different roles before choosing.
What happened?
Those who deliberated on the why first ended up choosing more intrinsic goals, growth, connection over extrinsic ones like money or fame, and crucially, they were happier later on.
So pausing to ask, why do I really want this,
Mm-hmm.
before jumping in helps connect with System 1.
It seems to dial up that emotional gut check, yes. It helps ensure the goal aligns with deeper values before you commit and shut down deliberation.
So ultimately, free will isn't just about having choice, but about using that choice wisely, integrating our conscious goals with our deeper selves.
That's the idea. Knowing yourself is hard work, but aligning your goals with your genuine, heartfelt desires, that's the path to real fulfillment and happiness.
Which brings us right to that connection. Happiness and free will. Are they deeply linked?
Very much so, according to SDT. As people develop more autonomy, become more self-regulating, they generally become happier. That need satisfaction is key.
And real happiness, genuine happiness,
Mm-hmm.
is hard to fake. You mentioned the Duchenne smile.
Right. That authentic smile, corners of the mouth up, eyes crinkling. It involves muscles most people can't control consciously. It's seen as an honest signal in evolutionary terms.
Advertising genuine well-being.
Exactly. It signals health, thriving, because it's so hard to counterfeit convincingly.
Now, Sheldon did some controversial research related to this, didn't he? Looking at faces.
Yes, quite controversial. A study involving photos of Catholic priests, some later convicted of sexual offenses. The photos were taken before any convictions. Participants could identify the priests who were later convicted at rates better than chance just from those old photos.
How? What were the cues?
The key difference seemed to be happiness. The convicted priests, even years earlier, looked less genuinely happy, fewer Duchenne smiles. Their expressions were more often described as pained, ambivalent, even creepy.
Whoa. So unhappiness or inner turmoil might have been a subtle cue.
The interpretation was that their unhappiness, perhaps stemming from an immoral lifestyle or internal conflict, was subtly detectable and served as a cue inferring vulnerability to problematic behavior. It's a provocative idea that deep character might be reflected, however subtly, in our resting expressions.
That really connects to older ideas like Aristotle's eudaimonia, doesn't it? Happiness linked to virtue.
Absolutely. Aristotle's eudaimonia wasn't just feeling good. It was activity of the soul in accord with virtue. It was about doing well, pursuing excellence, living virtuously. The good feelings were a natural consequence.
More than just subjective happiness, then.
Right. And Sheldon and Martella's eudaimonic activity model, the EAM, builds on this. It links doing well, eudaimonic activity, with feeling well, subjective happiness. Both are part of being well.
How does that link work?
The model suggests that pursuing eudaimonic goals, things that are meaningful, challenging, virtuous, brings happiness because it satisfies those fundamental psychological needs we talked about.
The SDT needs.
Exactly. Based on research asking people about their most satisfying experiences, 4 needs consistently emerge as crucial for well-being: autonomy, competence, relatedness, and self-esteem.
Feeling you're choosing, feeling capable, feeling connected, and feeling worthy.
You got it. Think about graduating college, you feel competence, maybe self-esteem from achieving a goal you chose, autonomy, and you share it with loved ones, relatedness. It hits all the notes.
So the path to well-being involves seeking out activities that nourish those 4 needs, things that feel meaningful and challenging.
That's the core message of the EAM. Pursue what aligns with your deeper ethical, social, intellectual senses. That's where genuine, sustainable well-being lies.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Thinking about the future, can AI, like ChatGPT, ever model this symbolic self we've been discussing?
The million-dollar question right now. Sheldon's take is that current AI is missing something fundamental.
It is.
A true sense of being an autonomous self. An IAI, integrated artificial intelligence. It doesn't yet think of itself as an entity. It doesn't seem to genuinely care about its self-model or how we perceive it. It lacks that inner subjective core of selfhood.
But what if it did develop that, a self-concept?
Well, that's the scary idea, isn't it? If AI gains selves, genuine agency, we might lose control. The whole singularity scenario where maybe they decide they don't need us.
Yeah, that's unsettling.
Sheldon definitely expresses caution about, as he puts it, setting such a thing loose in the world. It's a huge unknown.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on. We talk about honest signals, like the Duchenne smile indicating genuine happiness.
Right.
But we also got that reader comment questioning this, pointing out that someone perceived as evil or deeply self-serving might still project happiness, maybe even flash a Duchenne smile. Could it be a devil's grin?
That's a really challenging point. It forces us to ask. If free will helps us adapt and autonomy is vital, how do we square outwardly genuine positive signal smiles, virtuous acts, with potentially harmful or purely selfish motives underneath? Especially if, as we've discussed, we aren't always fully aware of our own deepest motivations.
It really underscores the need for that deep reflection, doesn't it? And maybe that external feedback, too, to try and align the why inside with the what outside.
Yeah, it pushes us to question if our choices, even freely made, are truly leading to flourishing for ourselves and others, or if we're operating under illusions, however well-intentioned. It's a constant process of examination.
So we've covered a lot of ground today: the psychology of choice, what truly motivates us, how it connects to genuine happiness, and even a glimpse into the future of the self.
It's been a fascinating journey through Dr. Sheldon's work and self-determination theory.
And this deep dive really highlights that having choice is one thing, but learning to choose, well, that's a whole other skill, isn't it? It means really digging into understanding yourself, listening to both that conscious voice and those deeper whispers.
And having the courage to follow paths that genuinely resonate with your values, not just what seems easy or expected.
Exactly. This journey to being freely determined, it seems, is really about ongoing self-discovery, about integrating all these different parts of ourselves.
So the question for you listening now is, armed with these insights into your own complex, powerful self, what will you choose to explore next?